Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Sam Kwok here, one of the Kwok Players. Hope you had a great weekend. This is your next stimulus check news, August 24th, 2020. Here is your latest stimulus news update. Now, over this weekend, on Saturday, the U.S. House passed the Delivering for America Act, which is $25 billion of funding for the U.S. Post Office. Now, just as a reminder as to how bills become an actual full-fledged law, now that it's passed by the House, it needs to go through the Senate, and the Senate discusses it and passes it, and then it's to get signed by the President, and ultimately the President can either veto or sign it. Now, already, the President did mention that he may veto the bill, but my interpretation, in my opinion, is that he's saying that so that he can use it as a leverage to pass some of these other stimulus packages that we talked about and we've been talking about for the last few weeks. So he may say, you know, listen, I'll sign the Delivering for America Act, but only if you include these following provisional items. Now, just as a reminder, there is a stimulus proposal on the table right now presented by the Republican senators, and we'll break it down once more through this video. And I do have some changes and updates for you guys about this proposal. So that might be a possible outcome where the President says, hey, I'm not going to sign this bill until you guys actually have a stimulus package in place, and then I'll sign the bill as. So if you guys want the latest information and update, be sure to subscribe to our channel. If you guys want the latest stimulus check news, we go and hit the bullet points, give you guys all the facts and points, none of the rubbish, and give you guys all the news. Now, in another news and update, White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows visits the Capitol Hill on Saturday as an impromptu meeting looking to meet with Nancy Pelosi to possibly discuss the next stimulus bill, to which Nancy Pelosi, who didn't expect the meeting, said she was not able to meet because she was at another meeting. So Mark Meadows and his team were not able to get a successful meeting. Now, this is significant, guys, because the last time they met was August 7th. The White House team and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, they didn't meet since August 7th. So this is pretty significant because it's been a while since they meet, and it shows that there's still a negotiation possibility at play when it comes to the stimulus package. So more to come. We'll have to pay attention. And you know what's also significant is the fact that you're going to go and smash the like button on this video. Help us out with our YouTube algorithm. So go ahead and turn that like button to blue. All right, so here's the latest breakdown to the proposal on the Republicans' quote-unquote skinny bill. So right now, what's introduced on the table, what's pretty significant, is the unemployment benefit of $300 a week till December 27th. Now, President Trump did sign a memorandum that would extend this to December 6th, or whenever the funding would go down to $25 billion. Now, a lot of experts believe that this will only last for about 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how many states participate. And last Friday, I gave you guys a breakdown as to which states have accepted the $300 a week unemployment plan and which states did not. In fact, right now, nearly half of the states have accepted it, and they're looking to apply and to receive the benefit. States like Arizona, people are already saying they're receiving the extra $300 a week of unemployment. So good for you guys, Arizona. So I'll keep you guys updated as far as which states are also applying and accepting the $300 a week unemployment. More to come. And another update for this as well, and I mentioned this on Friday, and I do want to mention this again, is that the $300 a week unemployment or the $600 a week unemployment that you may have been receiving a couple months ago, that may be subject to income tax. Ironically, government gives you money and they tax it. So you may want to talk to your accountant and your earned agent or your tax professional about how to mitigate some of those tax losses so that you could possibly pay less in taxes legally and ethically. So talk to your certified public accountants, talk to your tax professionals as to how you can pay least amount of taxes when it comes to the unemployment benefit of $600 or $300 a week. Also, what's in the next proposal or the current proposal is $105 billion funding for school. The schools need that. And what's controversial is the liability protection. And a lot of people on the comment thread, and I read those comments, by the way. If you guys have any thoughts about this so far, go ahead and leave your comments down below. But a lot of people have been pointing out, saying, oh, that's just for the large corporation. That's not for individuals. Well, that's sure. I mean, large corporations will surely benefit from that. But I think you guys have to understand that a lot of Main Street and a lot of mom and pop shops desperately need that, especially schools, churches, house of worship, restaurants for sure. In fact, a lot of the restaurants that I go to are small mom and pop restaurants, not owned by chain restaurants. And I get it, there's a lot of chain branded restaurants that will probably take advantage of that, but more importantly, vast majority of the restaurant volume comes from mom and pop, smaller individual restaurants that need the protection. Now, just as a reminder, what this is that if an individual goes to a restaurant, dines and a few days later, they get the coronavirus, and if they believe that they got it from the restaurant and they sue the restaurant, they have to prove in the lawsuit that the restaurant had a negligence or willful misconduct, such as maybe throwing a bucket of water that had coronavirus at the customer, which doesn't happen. So with the liability protection provision, sure, the large corporation may benefit from it, but it's really the small restaurants, small businesses that desperately need it because they don't have the resources that some of these large corporations have to be able to protect themselves, nor do these smaller businesses have the protection gear or the equipment to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. So we need more resources for smaller businesses. Now, speaking of resources for small businesses, the Paycheck Protection Program is also on the table with this new stimulus proposal that the GOP Republican senators have proposed. Now, there's some changes to what I mentioned in the Paycheck Protection Program. Now, previously I mentioned how the new provision for the Paycheck Protection Program only apply for businesses that have suffered 50% or more in terms of revenue loss, but that is not the case. So I do apologize for the misinformation. So here's the new information about the new provision and the proposal for the Paycheck Protection Program. So the new proposal for the Paycheck Protection Program would apply for businesses that have lost more than 35% revenue when compared to either the first or the second quarter of last year to the 2020 first or second quarter. So if you lost significant revenue, second quarter of 2020 when compared to second quarter of 2019, you would qualify for the Paycheck Protection Program, which is actually, it makes sense because second quarter is when we had the most amount of impact when it comes to the coronavirus pandemic. So that actually is a pretty fair comparison, I would say. So that's the first qualification. Now, when applying for the Paycheck Protection Program, no documentation is needed, only a self-attestation is required, meaning you go to the bank and say, hey, listen, I suffered more than 35% in terms of my revenue when compared to second quarter of 2019 and second quarter of 2020. So you don't have to prove it. But in order for the loan to be forgivable, it has to be truthful. If you lied to the loan officer or you've told the false information, then your Paycheck Protection Program will not be forgivable. You do need to pay it back within the loan terms. So that's another update. Also, the Paycheck Protection Program, the funding can now be used to cover any physical damages from looting. Makes sense? Also covers essential supplies and worker protections such as masks, hand sanitizers, different disinfecting supplies and equipment. So that goes hand in hand with the liability protection because it gives the smaller businesses the funding they need to purchase equipment, protection gear such as barriers, walls, right, masks that could ultimately help with stopping the spread of the COVID-19 virus. So that's pretty much the Paycheck Protection Program. You can still apply for it right now, but there's additional funding coming through with some provisions that I've just talked about. And last but not least, there's $10 billion allocated to the post office funding, so more to come with this stimulus package. This week could contain a lot of actions, so stay tuned, stay updated. That means subscribe to our channel if you guys want the latest news and updates to the stimulus check news.